Welcome to DDTN Online Training Portal. Good day. I am Donven Robot Engine designed by Ejim Kanyi Vincent, CEO of Donven.net Technologies Nigeria. I will assist you in your training as well as transfer you seamlessly to our partner portal to get first-hand experience in building software. If I ever miss anything, please ask DDTN developer or your tutors. Today, you will be learning installing Visual Studio Express for Windows desktop application. Just as you have learned in the previous lessons, we will show you how to install the tools for your SDT training.
So in this lesson, I'm going to install the free edition of Visual Studio named Visual Studio Express that you can use to follow along in this series of lessons. Now, if you already have some edition of Visual Studio installed, whether it be the Express edition for Windows Desktop, like we're going to install in this lesson, or if you have Professional, Premium, or Ultimate, then you can skip this lesson and just continue on to the next one. Also, if you're already adept at installing your own software, then I'm willing to bet that you could probably figure this out on your own without my help. So feel free to continue on and skip this lesson. So, like I said, the free edition of Visual Studio Express can always be downloaded from Microsoft.com/express. And the page may look different. The number of links, the number of tools that are available might change over time. Even the URL that you're forwarded to might change. But you can usually get to that page from Microsoft.com/express, and you may have to hunt around on the page to find the right edition of Visual Studio. And that's probably the first thing that you're going to notice. You're going to come to quickly realize that there's not just one free Express edition, but there are actually several. And you're going to choose the one that you should download based on the platform, or rather, depending on the type of application that you want to build. So for example, as we scroll down, there's Express 2013 for web for building ASP.NET applications. Express 2013 for building Windows Store apps like the ones you see in Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, like these tiled apps, right? Scrolling down even further, this is the one we're going to ultimately download, Express 2013 for Windows Desktop. Come back to that in a moment. There's also Team Foundation Server 2013 Express. Not interested in that one. That's for teams, all right, for them to work together collaboratively. And then Express 2012 for Windows Phone for building, obviously, Windows Phone apps. And I believe that's about it. So this is vitally important. You need Express 2013 for Windows Desktop. If you do not have this installed, then you will not be able to follow along in this series. Now, again, Professional, Premium, Ultimate editions, all of these application types are available, so you're good to go with one of the commercially available versions of Visual Studio. But that's not the case with Visual Studio Express. They split them up by the type of platform. There are other differences as well, but you generally will only need the Professional Edition or greater once you learn Visual Basic and the .NET Framework, and you need some of the advanced features or when you're working with a team of developers. So a common mistake that developers make when attempting to follow along in this series is that they download Express 2013 for Windows instead of for Windows Desktop. You would use, again, this Express 2013 for Windows to build the Windows Store apps that you would sell in the Windows Store. And that's not what we're going to be doing in this course. We're going to be learning the Visual Basic language by building simple console applications. And you will need the templates that are available in Express 2013 for Windows Desktop. Okay, hopefully nobody misses that point. I've gone on and on about it now. So what we're going to do is click the little download link to continue on. And you'll see this little section on this page where you can change the download language that you want, and there are other download languages available. And there are two installation options for the English language. You can either install the what I call the little bootstrapper. It'll just install a tiny application on your desktop, and then that installer will go out and download the pieces it needs. Or you can download the entire DVD ISO image, which is useful whenever you're going to burn the entire install disk to a physical disk and then put it in your machine and install from there. So what I typically do is choose this little bootstrapper application. I'm going to click the install now. You're going to be asked to log in. if you're not already logged into Visual Studio. Now, as you can see, I was already logged in, so it recognized me as Robert Tabor. I'm going to do this just briefly. I'm going to sign out and show you what this process looks like, and we'll go through it again. So I'll close this page now that I'm signed out, and I'll click Install Now again. This time it'll ask me to log in. It remembers my account credentials from a previous login, so I'm just going to click the Sign In button. You would type in your username and password or create a new Microsoft account. And now you're faced with two options. One is to install the Express Edition, or you can install a trial of the Ultimate Edition. You don't need that. It's, I believe, a 30 or 90-day trial or something along those lines. What we really want here is the Express 2013 for Windows Desktop. And Internet Explorer pops up the little bar. Do you want to save or run this? I typically just click Run. I don't need to save it in my Downloads folder. So now the Bootstrapper installer is running. It's going to ask me a few questions. Where do we want to install this? I generally leave the installation paths alone and go ahead and install it in the directory it wants to be installed in. I'm going to go ahead and agree to the license terms and privacy policy, and I'll go ahead and leave check the Join Visual Studio Experience Improvement Program. All these selections are up to you, but I'm going to go ahead and click the Install button. User Account Control UAC pops up for Windows 8.1 and says, this is going to make a big change to your computer. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. We're going to click the Yes button. And so now it's going to go on the internet and download the pieces of Visual Studio and Visual Basic and the .NET framework that we need in order for Visual Studio to run on our computer. So this, on a fast internet connection, might take 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to pause the video here while we go through the installation process, and we'll pick it back up when we're almost complete. Okay, so once everything's been set up successfully, you'll see the setup successful message in the dialog, and then also the big launch button. Can't miss it at the very bottom of that dialog. We'll go ahead and click that. And there's one more step. You're asked to sign in to Visual Studio once again, so you'll use your Microsoft login. You can also choose not to, but there are some benefits from signing in. For example, your settings from computer to computer with regards to Visual Studio will be copied over. And so that's actually a very useful feature. So you can always have a setup that you're familiar with. So I'll go ahead and I'll use my login. You can see it remembered it. Again, it's copying the settings down from a centralized server so that I can have the settings, the UI changes that I've made specific to my version of Visual Studio available for me on the very first use. And after a moment or so, I see the Start Page tab loaded in the main area of Visual Studio, indicating that I'm ready to get started. So we're now ready to write our very first lines of code in the next.
Wow. It pretty cool today. Ensure you join our online forum to learn from our team, your peers and professional. See you at the next lesson.